Imagine this, a morning without alarms, no coffee, no phone. You don't wake up in a bed, but in the middle of the African savanna, 50,000 years ago. You don't know which way is east, and you have no idea something is watching you from behind the grass. You think you're smart? Maybe. But that means nothing if you don't learn fast enough before you get eaten. The question isn't, are you strong? It's, can you learn fast enough before the cold, the hunger, or the claws of a predator end you? You are not a primitive human. You are modern, raised indoors, eating processed food, living in a comfort zone. Now, you've just been thrown into a world where there's no room for weakness and no time to adapt. You get one chance, and it starts the moment you open your eyes, in the hell your ancestors once called home. Part 2, the first hour, something out there is hunting you. The first hour after you open your eyes is not about finding water or food. It's about surviving the creatures that are already hungry. In the modern world, danger means a speeding car or a phishing text. But in the prehistoric era, danger had fangs, walked on 4 legs, and could smell blood from hundreds of meters away. Here, on the ancient African savanna where you now stand, once roamed killing machines that today exist only in museums. The short-faced hyena, Pachycrocuta brevirostris, weighing nearly 200 kilograms, with jaws powerful enough to crush a human skull. The saber-toothed cat, its fangs dagger-like, didn't kill for food, but for territory. The cave lion, ancestor of today's lions, but larger, faster, and more aggressive than anything you've seen in a zoo. You don't see them, but they see you. And the worst part is, your survival instincts are pitiful. Prehistoric humans learned to read tracks, sniff dung, and interpret the rustle of leaves before they could even speak. They grew up in a world where every sound might signal death. They didn't just avoid predators. They knew when to run, when to freeze, and when to climb. But you're standing naked in a field, squinting at a pile of rocks, not realizing it's a camouflaged hyena lying in wait. You have no weapon, no speed, no shelter, and worst of all, no time. You are at the bottom of the food chain, and you are being hunted before you've even learned how to defend yourself. Part 3, shelter. Cold, lonely, and unforgiving. You can survive thirst for a few hours, hunger for a few days, but cold without shelter will kill you in one night. As the sun sinks beneath the ancient savanna, the temperature plummets like a stone. The wind pierces your skin. Not a gentle breeze, but the blade of death. You look around. No house, no camp, no place to call shelter. Your ancestors were different. They had knowledge, not from books, but from tens of thousands of generations who lived and died in the cold. They knew how to find caves that faced away from the wind. They knew how to stack branches, dried grass, and animal hides into windbreaks. In colder regions, prehistoric humans even built tents from mammoth bones, covered in hides and moss to trap heat. That wasn't instinct. That was collective knowledge, passed down through stories, through experience, and through blood. But you don't have a knife to cut branches. You don't know which trees burn and which are poisonous. You don't know how long a hide must be dried before it's usable. And worst of all, you don't know where it's safe to lay down your head. Without shelter, your body begins to tremble, your heartbeat slows, your fingers go numb, signs of hypothermia. You won't die from hunger, but from helplessness in a world that shows no mercy. Your ancestors didn't survive because they were stronger. They survived because they knew what to do when the wind began to howl. But you have only your bare hands and the longest night of your life ahead. Art 4, Fire and the Fragile Hope. In the absolute darkness of the prehistoric night, fire isn't just light, it is life. Fire warms your body when the temperature drops near freezing. It cooks your food, killing parasites and bacteria hiding in raw meat. It repels predators, from wild dogs to hyenas, Creatures that fear light the way you fear death. Without fire, you won't last long. But to make fire, you need a miracle. Your ancestors created that miracle through knowledge passed down over thousands of years. They knew which wood to choose, a dry, brittle stick for the spindle, and a softer base underneath. They knew where to find tinder, rotting fungus, bark shavings, animal hair. They perfected the bow drill, a rotating tool to generate friction hot enough to spark a flame. Every motion, every material, refined through generations of failure, survival, and memory. Even modern survival experts, with knives and hours of training, struggle to make fire under perfect conditions. But you're wet, hungry, exhausted, and being stalked in the dark. Fire, the thing you once summoned with a flick of your thumb, is now the line between life and death. And every minute without it, your body grows colder. The predators move closer. Fire is hope, but on your first night in prehistory, that hope is as fragile as ash in the wind. Part 5. Nature is not a supermarket. You're starving. Your stomach growls. Your mind spins. You scan the landscape, a low forest, a few shrubs, a distant stream. But there are no grocery stores here, no nutrition labels, no organic stickers. Everything you put in your mouth could be dinner or your death sentence. Your ancestors didn't just hunt alone, hoping to get lucky. They had strategy and teamwork. In a frozen valley in eastern France, archaeologists uncovered signs of ancient fire traps built every spring and autumn. Early humans lit fires along both slopes of the mountain to hood wild horses and reindeer into a narrow gorge. There, the entire group ambushed and butchered them, drying the meat to feed the clan through winter. That wasn't luck. That was survival perfected over tens of thousands of years. And you don't know which animals are safe to eat, which carry disease. You can't track footprints, read wind direction, or coordinate with anyone because you're alone. Even if you give up on hunting, foraging is no safer. You spot a cluster of red berries. They look like strawberries, a small seed the size of a peanut. Harmless, right? But you don't know. They could be Jequirity beans containing abrin, one of the most lethal toxins on Earth. There are no manuals, no doctors, only memory or mortality. Ancient humans learned to recognize plants from childhood, from their mothers, grandmothers, stories passed down by the fire. But you've never heard the tales, and one bite might be your last. Nature is not a supermarket. It doesn't arrange shelves. It doesn't care about your survival. And if you lack ancestral knowledge, nature will erase you, quietly, without warning. Part 6. The Invisible Killers. You've just scraped your hand while climbing a rock, trying to find a place to sleep. A small cut, red, stinging, but nothing serious if you were in the 21st century. But you're not. You're in the Stone Age, where every wound is an open door for death to walk in. Not from saber-toothed cats, not from short-faced hyenas, but from invisible killers, bacteria, parasites, viruses. And they are everywhere. In the stream you just drank from, on your hands as you picked that fruit, in the soil, in the air, even in your own teeth. Archaeologists have extracted ancient DNA from prehistoric teeth and found traces of serious infections, staph bacteria, gum disease, even signs of sepsis. A 2023 study found deadly pathogens inside the bone marrow of a person who lived 32,000 years ago, proving that we've always carried death in our blood, just waiting for an opening. Today you get a scratch. You wash it, bandage it, take antibiotics. But 50,000 years ago, no clean water, no sterile bandages, no antibiotics. A simple cut could fester, rot, and spread through your bloodstream, ending your life in a few feverish, delirious days. Even water, the most innocent-looking thing, is a biological minefield. Our ancestors had to learn to tell the difference between flowing streams and stagnant pools, how to spot foam, smell rot, observe dead insects, to decide if water was safe. But you're thirsty. you drink, and you swallow millions of enemies you'll never see coming. The prehistoric world doesn't need bullets or blades to kill you. All it takes is one scratch, one sip from the wrong place, and days later, you'll be just another nameless skeleton left in the weeds. Part 7, Alone is Dead. You might be strong, you might be smart, but if you're alone in the Paleolithic world, you're already dead. Your body just doesn't know it yet. Your ancestors didn't survive because of muscle or instinct. They survived because of society. They lived in small groups, around 20 to 30 people, usually family, mates, elders, children. They shared meat after the hunt. They shared firewood, furs, shelter, and most importantly, knowledge. One person fell, another picked them up. One remembered the path, another remembered when the harvest came. It was a web of survival. Break one strand, and the whole group suffered. There were no superheroes, only roles. The fast hunted. The elders told stories of failed traps. The weak raised children. The clever mapped migration routes on cave walls. That's why your ancestors left hundreds of cave paintings, not as art, but as lessons. In Chauvet and Lascaux, they drew bison, mammoths, and human hands. These weren't decorations, they were messages. Come here in September, the reindeer return. Or if you see this beast, don't go near. They had no books, they had painting, music, and stories. That's how they survived, through collective memory. And you have a modern brain dropped into hell. You don't know how to hunt. You don't remember the seasons. You can't read the signs. And worse, there's no one beside you to remind you. In the Paleolithic world, you don't die because you're weak. You die because you're alone. Most of us, if thrown into the Stone Age, would die within days, not because we're stupid, not because we're weak, but because we've evolved to live differently. We no longer need to make fire from sticks, read animal tracks, or memorize wind patterns. We traded those instincts for something greater: community, collective memory, technology. That isn't weakness, that is progress. Your ancestors didn't survive through brute strength, but through creativity. They didn't just endure, they explored, invented, taught. They left handprints in caves, stone tools in graves, and buried the dead with offerings, to say one thing to those who came after: we lived, and we learned. You are the result of tens of thousands of years of trial, error, survival, and storytelling. Your blood carries memories of ice, of fire, of festering wounds, and nights huddled together for warmth. Every modern step you take, driving a car, sending a message, building a home, writing a poem, is an answer to the bones left behind in ancient soil. So your failure to survive in the Paleolithic isn't a failure at all. It's proof that your ancestors succeeded. They died so you could live, not in fear, but in knowledge and hope. The question is no longer, could you live like a primitive human? But are you living in a way that honors everything they died to give you? You are the product of 300,000 years of evolution, not to romanticize the past, but to write the future. Don't see your ancestors as savage beasts. See them as the greatest inventors in human history, and live in a way that proves you're worthy, because you are their final heir. We live in a world where food comes with a tap, clean water flows with a twist, and darkness turns to light with a switch. But when life becomes too easy, we forget. We were once the weakest creatures in the wild, and we only survived through intelligence, courage, and connection. Our ancestors were not dumb cavemen. They were scientists with no degrees, engineers with no classrooms, artists with no canvas. They left no textbooks, only bones, stone carvings, and the paintings on cave walls. And if we don't tell their story, who will? If you believe human history still hides untold truths, if you want to uncover the forgotten memories buried beneath time, subscribe and join us on this journey to reclaim the ancient knowledge we left behind. Because understanding the past is how we understand what we're living for, and how we live in honor of those who came before in the dark, with bare hands.